All right, shalom, shalom to the nation of Israel, shalom. All right, this is your brother Kazakia out of Great Millstone, New Orleans, coming at you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, right? But prior to getting started, we want to give out infinite honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Harakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone, who rule and teach well. Peace, blessings, and salutation be to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, all right? And the title of today's lesson is going to be The Future is Looking Real Bleak. All right, that's the title of today's lesson is The Future is Looking Real Bleak. All right. And of course, as you know it, the U.S. And Israel has basically waged war against Iran, man, and they've been going back and forth, shooting these missiles at each other, destroying bases, destroying DAD systems, aircrafts. Okay, they're volleying these missiles back and forth at each other, man. And what does it do, man? It makes the idea, the concept of make America great again real bleak, man. It turns it into total BS. Ever since this man's been in power, he's basically, uh, by Yahweh Bashimal Shai has been, completing and doing prophecies, man. The prophecies are popping off the pages, man. Okay, but the society, will come to a standstill. Okay, it will come to a halt. According to Yahweh Shemel Shai. Okay, and and the economy itself is just gonna crumble, man. And and that's ultimately what they want anyway, right? They got the CBDC, right, which is central banking, digital currencies. Okay, they have all of that stuff lined up, and they really want to crash the place anyway, so they could come about and bring the so-called NWO. Okay, and this is just a picture that I pulled up because pretty much of the definition of the word bleak, which we'll get in a second. But as you can just see, it's what it's dark, it's gloomy, and it's basically supposed to, a representation of that, just that, okay? But I'm gonna get the definition real quick. Let's scroll back up here. All right, let's go. Now this is the definition of bleak. It says describes a situation, place, or outlook that is cold, barren, gloomy, or hopeless. All right, and there is no hope. Absolutely no hope for Babylon the Great, which is aka America. All right, there's no hope. It's bad times, dark times, evil times is coming on Babylon the Great, man, and the future is looking mighty bleak, right? Because it is going to be mighty bleak. It's just that, okay? Now, let's get this real quick. I want to get this here. What did I want first? All right. This is our 2 Timothy 3 and verse 1. It says, this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come, right? And that's just, it is what it is, right? Okay, going into that bleak future. Ain't no good coming out of, Babylon the Great. Okay, these people, you're not gonna get back, on your high horse. All right, ain't gonna be no more partying and dancing and singing and joyous time, just being happy, mirthful, loving, right? The spirit. Scriptures say, the love of many shall wax cold, man. All right, and that's true. Right? And these people, these people are going to lose it, man. According to scripture. Now let's get, because what this gives you is, and go to, it gives you that, it kind of gives you like a dystopian type of feel, right? You know, that's what it gives you. And let me see, I believe I looked up that word, dystopia. Okay, yeah, this is the word. Just real quick, dystopia from off the online etymology dictionary. It says an imagined state or society in which there is great suffering or injustice, typically one that is totalitarian or post-apocalyptic. All right, I'm gonna get that word apocalyptic too as well. Actually, apocalypse. Let's see here. Let's get the definition. Describing, this is apocalyptic. It says describing or prophesying the complete destruction of the world, right? And we know what's the complete destruction of the world, man. The complete destruction of Esau's empire. Okay, the word world, right? Going back to eon, and we'll go get that real quick, right? Let's get that. This is a Second Measure 6 in verse 7. It says, "Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth?" Okay, and so he's asking a question. Basically, what's going to be the end, man? What's going to be the sign of the end? Okay, and he answered unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him. Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, right? Which, basically is symbolic for, through Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, that Jacob would take down Esau's kingdom, man. All of the vain imaginations that he's had, okay, the technology, all that science, BS, that pseudoscience, is going to be taken out, man, by first and foremost by Yahweh Shai, right? But the Lord is also going to use his men, right, the elect of the nation of Israel, to subdue and put under subjection these devils, man. Okay. This is verse 9. It says, "For Esau is the end of the world," right? We talked about that, apocalyptic period, apocalypse, that dystopian future. Okay. And it says, "And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." Okay, so, Esau, Edom, the Edomites, the so-called white man, is the end of the world, right? Which is the end of his kingdom, the end of an age, right? He had his time, to rule the earth. But Jacob, you so-called black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole, Indian man, woman, and child, and the Gentiles, okay, which is the Israelite foreigners. They're Israelites by spirit, but they look like the other nations, okay? They're going to take over the planet, right? And it's the elect of the nation of Israel. And not everybody's going to, make it over on this side, okay? All right. Now, let's see here. Let's get another precept, actually. Let's go here. This is Zephaniah 1 and verse 10, and it says, "And this shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, that there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, and a howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills," man. And that's what these different nations, okay, are likened unto. All right, the crashing of the hills, right? Goes into what, man? The economy, man. Being destroyed. All right, being put in that bleak, okay, that bleak like a state, okay, where it just, where it's, it says it looks bad, it's gonna be bad, is what I'm saying. Okay, now I want to get this here because I think I have, right, okay, yeah, I had this pulled up. This is it right here, man. the stock market. Okay, and what does it look like? It look like hills. Okay, right? This little graph chart. We got all the different numbers and all the rest of that kind of stuff. Okay, this is gonna crash, man. And once this crash, okay, that pretty much really, well, I mean, they're already bringing about their NWO and things of that nature, but you know, once this crash is going, everything is going to speed up, man. It's almost going to be like the change. You're going to feel like the change has happened overnight. You know, Now they got their system set up. Like I said, they got the CBDC set up. Okay, they're going to bring in that. I don't know if I can see that, but they're going to bring in a new system. They're going to bring in a new system based off of credit. I'll say that. And it's going to be a complete change, man. Right? It's going to be like what the scripture says, perilous. Okay, let's get matter of fact, I'll get that from here. All right. Perilous, from off the online etymology. The dictionary says full of danger, risky, involving exposure to death, destruction, or injury. All right. So, this is what the, Babylon, the great city, okay, the whore that sitteth upon many waters, it's God looking forward to it, man. Full of danger, involving exposure to being unalive, man. Okay, one form, way, or another through the spirit and power Yahweh Shemel Shai. Like the scripture says, it's looking real bad, man. It's looking real bleak, man. Okay, I actually want to get that definition again, but yeah, there it is, man. It's giving you a little imagery. Maybe they have another one up here, but you can see it's stock market is likened unto what? It's likened unto hills, man. In this crash, everything goes. Okay. All right. See that? Hills, up and down. That's all you see it as, up and down, up and down, up and down. That's it. All right. Let's go to. I want to go back to this here. All right. Again, this is the word bleak. Just real quick, it describes a situation, place, or outlook that is cold, barren, gloomy, or hopeless. And here in America, they are definitely hopeless. All right. Let's go to. Let's see here. Let's go to here real quick. All right. I'm just gonna start at the top. We'll read down and get the point. It says, "Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not." Right. So now is a time for Jacob. Let's say this. Make it very specific here. Jacob to turn back to his power, man. You Israelites, you so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole, Indian man, woman, and child. Y'all got to turn back to y'all power, man. Come back to the roots. Come back to being, you got to search out the ways of your forefathers, man. Okay, come back to being, Israelite, keeping the customs, the laws. Follow the elders and apostles at Great Millstone on down, man. Okay. Come back to loving the Lord, man. And it says what? It says, why the evil days come not. Why they ain't basically fully implemented, right? Because right now you gotta, the doors of mercy are still open. Okay? But those doors are closing extremely fast, man. Okay? To the point where, you may not make it. You get what I'm saying? So, man, now's the time. That's the point. Okay? The scriptures tell you now is high time for you to wake up out of sleep. For now our salvation is nearer than we believe. Okay, I'm roughly paraphrasing, but yeah, man. And it says, "Nor the years draw nigh when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them." Right? They're gonna be, like I said, perilous times. Ain't no pleasure in perilous times, man. Right? When you gotta go outside and you looking, you looking left, you looking right behind you. You know, you're antsy, your anxiety's on high, your stress level is through the roof. Okay, that ain't it, man. Okay, and it says, verse 2, and it says, "While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain." It says, but get to the point. It says, "In that day when the keepers of the house shall tremble," right? The keepers of the house going back into, basically the elite. Okay, who has set up, Babylon the Great, to be that chief city, right? And all the nations, want to be likened unto it. Okay, and the house represents basically, the economy, man, and we're talking about that. We're talking about the future of the economy. Okay, it's looking hopeless, right? And it is going to be hopeless according to the scriptures, man. Ain't no hope here. If you depending on Babylon the Great to come back, stronger than ever and to be right, and we're gonna get it right and make these amends and all the rest of that kind of stuff, you're finished, man. That's it. You're done. You're through. Okay, and it says, "And the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders, because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened," man. You talk about the few, the grinders being few, man. Okay, then the grinders going into the workers, man. The people are working within society. Okay, ain't nobody hiring. If anything, they're cutting jobs, right? That's what they're doing, man. Okay, and it says, "And those that look out of the windows be darkened." Yeah, man. Okay, so you're looking at what? You're looking into the future, basically. You're looking at to see how the economy is going to be in the future. And as of right now, as it stands, with this war going on, okay, and it's not going nowhere, but with it going on, it don't look good. It looks bad. Like it says, it said the window's been darkened. It say, oh man, it's, I guess like the title of today's lesson, it says, this is looking real bleak, man. Okay, the future's looking real bleak. It's not good for it. Ain't gonna go over well for you Edomites, man. You so-called white people. All right, and you other nations too. Because all of y'all, was confederate against the nation of Israel, right? The scriptures tell you, it was a Revelation, the 18th chapter, about how the merchants, basically the merchant people, would, basically, howl and wail and be vexed in their own spirits or whatnot. For what? The destruction of Babylon the Great, when they see its destruction, right? Because that's ultimately what's going to happen, right? Yahweh Shema Shai, Yahweh's going to send his son Yahweh Shai to return and destroy this place, man. Babylon the Great, America, man. Gone, out of here, through. Not one stone on top of another, just one giant flat desert plain. That's it. And I'm going to get this real quick because I looked up. I said, this is just from off of Chat GPT real quick. It says, in January, what were the prices for each state? And I just was kind of, matter of fact, let me go up. It says top 5 states with the highest gas prices since the war on Iran started. And at first it gave me some little, numbers that just, didn't add up, so to speak, okay? because it was saying California went from 580 to 605, you know. But when I, re-asked the question to be a little bit more specific, it gave me basically the answer I was looking for, right? It says in January, what were the prices for each state? Okay. See there. It says United States average 280 to 285 per gallon. So in January, the gas prices was 280, okay, to 285. And I think I remember it even being 260, if I'm not mistaken, at least where I'm at, you know. But let's scroll down, okay. So I remember that's 280 to 285. It says many states were under $3 at the time. Many states was under $3, okay. Now since then, it says these were already the most expensive, even before the war spike. 440, 470, which they probably was lower. Hawaii 450, Washington 420, Oregon 4, Nevada 4, and let's see here. Okay, these were the cheapest. Oh yeah, I was saying 260, right? It says Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Oklahoma, 260 to $3. It says Alabama today. This is just giving an example. We just want a quick example. All right, guys. It's 380 to 390 and was 270 to 290, okay? And just at camp, all right, just at camp, we were speaking on the gas prices, all right? And, brothers were saying, they've seen places at $4, $4 $4 a pop, man. Now, gas range, varies from station to station and things of that nature, and depending on whether you're getting premium or diesel. But the point is went up, okay? It's basically went up $2 roughly, from 260 to like $4, because it's going to go up some more. In some places it's higher than that, all right? And basically 2 months. It was this way in January, and now in May, it's significantly higher, man. So how it's going to be later on in the year, man. Okay, you could just imagine it, is what I'm saying, man. Going back into that, that dystopian, bleak future, man. Now, the dystopian goes back into being a totalitarian type of state, which, that's, basically more soon to happen because, we believe, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Al Shah that, DJ Nero 47, okay, that he's that cruel Lord, man. Okay. And he's just waiting a turn to get the power to rule and being cruel, man. Right? We seen the headlines, right? We seen him bringing back the firing squads, the electric chairs, okay? If I'm not mistaken, the guillotines, okay? If I'm not mistaken, that old what I want to say, that old way, that old style of making people a public example, because that's what basically the firing squads were used for back then. Okay, they have a guy or a woman or whatever that go on trial. They'll say, okay, what you did was you broke this law, because we went into draconian too. Okay, draconian laws. Okay. Basically going back into severe and extremely harsh punishments, man. Severe and extremely harsh punishments for smaller crimes. Okay? So basically, if you're not down If you're not down with the beast, okay, you're not down with the system, you're going to be an enemy of the state. All right? Now, I'm just going to read this real quick. California went from $4.50 to $6 now. Washington $4.30 to $5.30. Midwest $3.20 to $4.10. And like I said, I've heard the numbers were significantly higher, you know, but you pretty much nailed in home the point, you know. Okay, let me go back to this here. All right. Yeah, we pretty much nailed home the point. Hey, look, the future is looking mighty bleak, dark, gloomy, no hope. Okay, to come back, man. The scriptures tell you, I believe it's the angels say we would have healed Babylon, but she ain't healed, man. Now that's going into the destruction of Babylon. Okay, you know, but economically, man, it's done. You heathens are finished. The Lord he's got a problem, and he has an issue with all of y'all, and he's gonna take it out, through his indignation. And that's that. All right, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have through the spirit and power Yahweh Shemel Shai. You know, the title of today's lesson is "The Future is Looking Real Bleak, man. Not looking good for you heathens, man. You people, think things are bad now, man. You should just wait, man. Wait and see. It's gonna be terrible. Matter of fact, it's gonna be beyond terrible. All right. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have through the spirit and power Yahweh Shemel Shai. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying first and foremost to the hopeful elect. But prior to getting out of here, we want to give our infinite honor and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Harakakadash. Double honor to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone who rule and teach well. Peace, blessings, and salutations be to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, all right? Kwame Yasha Allah, Ababa Ball, Shalom.